Okay, so when I first start, I start with the HS tracker. And initially, I mean when I'm starting at the very beginning of the quarter, I grab the first 3 columns all the way down and I copy paste those onto my progress tab of my tracker. So that way it's copied completely and it mirrors what the HS tracker is going to look like each week. And then as each HS tracker is released on Mondays and Wednesdays, I go back and I copy the grades column only, and I date the column each time. You can date it into the future if you want. Sometimes the HS tracker doesn't always come out on the right days if things aren't working correctly, so you might have to change the dates. I went ahead and put all of them in ahead of time. So the new HS tracker came out today. So filter for yourself. I always have to change the A to Z. For some reason it doesn't do it automatically, so I have to make sure I alphabetize first. And to go back to my tracker. So like I said, very first time I copy and paste the first 3 columns. I draw the lines after each student as well. As you start, and you'll see when I copy, but the lines will start to disappear as you paste into it, but the majority of it will still be there. So it's still easy to differentiate between each line of student. Okay, so let me grab this week's. Go all the way down. Okay. Copy. Top of mine, paste. And they're all in there. See, this is what I mean by the line disappearing once you copy, but like I said, the rest of the lines will be there, so it still works. So if I want to make sure that everything lined up correctly, the first thing I'll do is come down to the bottom of the list and just make sure that it lines up at the bottom. So for instance, if this ends a couple of rows down, then I know that something was off and there was a change in the student that I forgot to make. If I'm really concerned about it, I'll go and I'll spot check a few grades to make sure they line up correctly, but pretty much if it lines up down here, it lines up the rest of the way. So now as far as color coding. Okay, so for color coding, I start first with a student and I put the student's name in green if they're a potential quarter 1 graduate. That way I always have those marked. If a student is on starts the quarter on an academic probation contract, then I highlight them in red. That way I'm aware of that too when I'm looking at their grades. And then it's super easy once you turn filters on up here. Filter. Then it's super easy to filter by color. And now I can grab all the students in that row who are in green, and now I have just my quarter 1 graduates on here, and I can see how they're doing based on the most recent HS tracker. And then I can go back and do the same thing for my academic probation kids and just look at them and see how they're doing. So this is why I recommended keeping all their names too. That way everything is pulled. Well, actually it doesn't matter as much with this as it does once you get to the percentages. So let me clear this off and then I'll show you what I do over here. So once we are, let me see, make sure I'm saying everything. Once I'm a few weeks into the quarter, I don't do this right off the bat because it takes some kids some time to get adjusted. But a couple weeks into the quarter, I start to flag them for multiple failed classes. And I look especially closely at the ones who are in the 40 to 50% range, who show they've done something and are possibly willing to do a little bit more with a little bit of a push. So, and then I color code them, and I show you down here. I always put at the bottom what my color code means because sometimes I forget, and then I have no idea what it means when I come back to it. So if it's green, that means I spoke to them. If it's orange, it means I texted them. If it's red, it means I left a voicemail. And then I always put the date that I made those attempts at contact, because it's super easy for me to come back to this when I'm doing my low progress referrals, since we have to show attempts to have helped them on our own. It's super easy to come back to these dates and know when I reached out to them. So I start with that initial contact, and then those same kids jump out to me when I put in the next HS tracker column for grades. And then I can look at the kid and say, okay, so are their grades going up? Are their grades going down? Are their grades staying the same? So that way I know if I need to reach out to them again. or if I can leave them alone for a little while because they're moving. See, this kid I should have contacted again, and I haven't because his grades are either going down or staying the same. So then I can go look, because on Monday I added a new one, and so speaking, texting, voicemail is still there, but then I added a positive one in there, so I know if I'm reaching out to them, if I've given them a pat on the back for either bringing their grades up or passing all their classes or making huge leaps, something like that. So obviously I need to update this with more contacts because I haven't contacted enough of the kids that I contacted last week. Last Wednesday, I was waiting until this Wednesday's came out because I like to give them a week to show me something. That's why I didn't contact all of them immediately on Monday, because I wanted to give them the full week. So I'll call some of these kids today who I contacted last Wednesday, who still aren't doing anything or have moved down a little bit. So now I know last week I texted them, so this week I should probably call them since they're still not showing me anything. And so to show you one more filter as well, you can filter again by color. And I don't need to put colors in these every single time for my own sake, because I can filter by icon. So for instance, the HS Tracker automatically gives us red diamond to all the kids who are failing. So I can search that way. And again, this is why it's important to keep those names on the left-hand column. Or if I don't want to know every single kid who's failing, because a 0% is very different from a 44%. So let me clear that one off. And I can do this, number filters, and I do between. And then for the top one, I put 40, and you can put any numbers you want, less than or equal to 59. So I know the kids that are in that range who have shown me something. And actually, I learned you can't just put the number, you have to put %. Otherwise, I won't find anything. Hit OK, and so now I know all the kids who have between a 40 and a 50% in their class who are failing, but they've obviously done a lot. Like this kid with 58.2 just needs to do a little bit more to get over that passing mark. So that way I can really hone in on these kids to see how I can help them. And that's all I have. So hopefully this helps. Let me know if you want to see anything else or have any questions. I hope I didn't confuse you more. Yeah, let me know what I can do to help you.